Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to the video. This is a paid request. This time for Shawn, who's been very generous. Thank you so much, man. For those interested in requesting any type of video or topic, reaction, commentary, what have you, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. So, Shawn wanted me to do a commentary for Top Gun, the 1986 film. So, as I get situated, one sec. This chair. Come on, chair. There you go. Thank you. Damn. Let's get to it. 3, 2, 1, pressing. 3, 2, 1, pressing play. Paramount Pictures, Gulf and Western Company, Fade Out, Paramount Pictures presents, For Sinking, Don Simpson, Jared Bruckheimer. Tony Scott film. Rest in peace, Tony Scott. One of my favorite, top 10 favorite directors. Loved Last Boy Scout, Beverly Hills Cop 2. I liked Man on Fire. March 3rd, 1969, U.S. Navy established an elite school for the top 1% of its pilots. Purpose is to teach the lost art of aerial combat, to ensure that the handful of men who graduated were the best fighter pilots in the world. They succeeded. The Navy calls it Fire Weapons School. The students call it Top Gun. Great score by Harold Faltermeyer, I will say. Love the score by Harold Faltermeyer. Of course, they completely copied this for the sequel, Top Gun Maverick. It's the same damn shit. I don't hate the sequel. I liked it alright. Like I said, I thought it was an alright movie. I thought it was an alright film. I think I'd give it like 3 out of 5 stars because it has beautiful, fantastic aerial photography. The story kind of felt similar to this, and again, when you had like the same way it opens, and I thought the sequel, the romance was weaker, the love story was weaker, the music was weaker. This, you got the great Harold Faltermeyer story, you got great songs like Danger Zone, Take My Breath Away, all this other stuff. The sequel, it was just, the scenes they kept regurgitating were just, why am I watching this? I'll just watch the first one. When it did new stuff, like in the third act, although it kind of reminded me of Star Wars, but that's where it got more intriguing for me. I will say that. When they regurgitate stuff from this one, it was less interesting. But yeah, I don't hate Top Gun Maverick. If I hated it, I would say it. But I liked it okay. But I do like this film more. I do like the first Top Gun more. Tony Scott, like I said, big fan of him. Even the last film he did, Unstoppable, with Denzel Washington. Deja Vu, I think, is underrated. Of course, he did True Romance. My favorite of his would be Beverly Hills Cop 2, The Last Boy Scout. Like, those are my top 2 favorites. So we go for Harold Faltermeyer to Danger Zone, Kenny Loggins. 80s classics on. I step to the Danger Zone. Like, if you don't use Danger Zone in the sequel, why not use that for the like during a big action scene, and you think this, oh my gosh, that song, if you don't use that for nostalgia, wouldn't that be a better way to use it? But yeah, when this came out in 1986, it was a massive hit. I think it was the biggest hit of the year in the US, at least. I know this came out around the same time as Cobra, and it demolished Cobra. And that's kind of one of the bad things, is that Cobra was a longer movie. But the story I've heard is that because they were worried about Top Gun, they wanted more showings for Cobra. So they cut a lot of the running time. So that's why it became a much shorter movie. You know, that's why Cobra's like 80-some minutes long. Because if we did another showing, which was a stupid decision. They should have just left it alone. But Top Gun was going to do what Top Gun was going to do. Because at that time, people had not seen a lot of aerial combat like this before. So it made it a big summer event that people were excited to see and go back to rewatch over and over again. And then having the cooperation of the military. Of course, we got Tom Cruise, up and coming star. I mean, this around the time you don't have Rain Man, you don't have Born on the 4th of July. He was The Color of Money with Paul Newman. And of course, later on, Jerry Maguire and the Mission Impossible films and so forth. I do like Tom Cruise. I think he's a talented actor. Has a pretty good track record of films, especially even nowadays, other than The Mummy. Other than The Mummy, his other films are fairly good. A lot of those Mission Impossible films are really good. Top Gun Maverick, I think, decent film. So not only do you have Tom Cruise, you got Anthony Edwards, who I remember from this underrated film called Miracle Mile. You got Tim Robbins, early in his career. After this would be in Cadillac Man with Robin Williams, Jacob's Ladder, which is a favorite of mine, 1990. Love Jacob's Ladder. But Tim Robbins is one of these pilots. Merlin. Sorry, now I'm just watching it still has some really beautiful photography. I forgot that his first wingman is Tom Cruise is John Stockwell. This is the guy that's with Tom Cruise here, John Stockwell, who is one of the stars of Christine. Would go on to direct films like Blue Crush and Into the Blue and Turistas. Kickboxer Vengeance, he directed that movie, but he was an actor of Christine, My Science Project. He did My Science Project before this, actually. So it's this whole cat and mouse game of who's going to fire first because, hey, they fired on me first, so it's their fault. I did great photography, like the showing the side of the plane throughout the clouds. Like people seeing this on the big screen, this is what people marveled at, understandably, and they just like, whoa. They're just very impressed. I love that score. I love the guitar work. That really sells it. And of course, I missed said John Stockwell's not behind him. John Stockwell, his wingman in the other plane, of course. Yeah, he's not handling it. So yeah, Tim Robbins is right behind John Stockwell, and I think Anthony Edwards is right behind uh, Tom Cruise's character. And that guy with the cap talking is James Tolkien, which I remember he was the principal in Back to the Future, talking about slackers. He was also the cop in Masters of the Universe in 1987. What was his character's name? Uh, Detective Hugh Lubitsch. Yeah, he was the cop in Masters of the Universe, yeah. And then he was the principal in Back to the Future, Strickland. So you have the hotshot pilot, not listening to orders, but wanting to, help his fellow man. Talk him down. Yeah, John Stockwell's just losing it. They said great aerial photography. I'm going to keep repeating that. Now, believe it or not, I'm not like a I like Top Gun, but I'm not like the gun ho fan of it. Like my friend Michael CP Communications, he's much more of the Top Gun guy. I like the film, but if I'm being honest, I have probably seen this film the amount of times I could count in one hand, including today. Because I'll be honest, I was always more of an Iron Eagle guy. There's Top Gun guys, there's Iron Eagle guys. I was always more of an Iron Eagle guy. Never say die, Iron Eagle. Dud Masters, Louis Gossett Jr. going to save his dad from the terrorists, as ridiculous as it is. Then James Tolkien saying, slacker. I keep waiting for keep calling people slacker. Just some people would call this like the MTV version of Navy combat. And that's kind of the funny thing is that when this came out, the critics tore it apart. The critics said it was junk, it was this and that. But you know, when the sequel come out, then the critics love it, and the critics call it such a. It should get an Oscar nomination for Best Picture, and I'm sitting there going, listen, I don't mind the film, but let's calm the tits down. I like Top Gun Maverick okay, but it does not deserve a fucking Best Picture nomination. Let's just calm the fuck down, people. Now we got Michael Ironside as a naval aviator instructor. And that's what helps this film. It has a great cast, and that's one of the things that the sequel didn't have. I don't mind. What's his Miles Teller, but I mean you got Val Kilmer, Anthony Edwards, Tom Skerritt, Michael Ironside, Tim Robbins. Even Meg Ryan's in the film. Of course, Tom Skerritt here, who was in The Dead Zone. He was in Alien. Michael Ironside before the other instructor. He was in Scanners. He was in Total Recall in 1990, among many other films. I just don't think a lot of the actors in the new Top Gun Maverick really don't go out to do much that you don't remember. Except maybe Miles Teller, maybe. Because I've liked him a couple stuff. I think he was in Whiplash, which I liked, and I think Bleed for This, or Bleed for Me. Can't remember. Bleed for This. I'm bad with names. I apologize. Sorry I'm being silent. I'm just watching the actors do their jobs well. I mean, Val Kilmer, despite his all the stories of hearing that he was not the nicest guy on a lot of movie sets. There's the issues on Island of Dr. Moreau, and the director just not only going crazy trying to direct him, but what was the story that something to do with a cigarette and a guy's ear, and I can't remember what the hell the whole story was. I always forget. I'm trying to remember that. I mean, what was that story again? God, I can't remember what the hell the story was. Yeah, okay, I can't remember what the hell it was, but definitely check out the Island Dr. Moreau documentary. It's something to do with like a guy's ear. Maybe it wasn't a cigarette. I can't remember what the hell it was, man. Of course, he doesn't realize until too late this is one of the other instructors. As he's saying that you've lost that love and feeling. Another good song on the soundtrack. Anytime I think of this scene, I always think of that scene in Scream 2 where they, for some reason, they go, this complete screw up, where Jerry O'Connell starts singing to Nev Campbell, but the song he's singing is, I think I love you, I don't know what I'm so afraid of. And like, what is he doing? And the guy says, Top Gun. I'm like, no it's not. Because it clearly says, as you can see here, you've lost that love and feel. It's like a completely different fucking song. So I don't know why in Stream 2 they said that. Now we got Kelly McGillis, who is beautiful. Beautiful lady. I think the two of them definitely had some good chemistry with each other. I don't mind Jennifer Connelly, but I just don't think her and Tom had as much of that chemistry in the second film. And I said, well, why do you even need a love story between the two if that's the case? And I did, for understand the reason Kelly McGillis didn't come back is, number one, because of the way she looked. She looks very different. A bit more frumpy, to be fair. I mean, to be honest, a bit more frumpy. Age has not been the kindest. And, it is what it is. Happens to everybody, actors, actresses. Again, that's probably one of the reasons why I always liked Iron Eagle more, because I like the drive of that story more. Like, the drive of this story is the romance between him and Kelly McGillis. It is a decent romance, but I was more intrigued with a kid trying to save his dad, his mentor, Louis Gossett Jr., and that friendship building. That's just more of an interesting, enticing story to me. Again, as silly as it is, the movie's premise is, still more my cup of tea. To be perfectly honest, I'm just not a big romantic guy. Whether it be romance in movies or romantic movies in itself. Are there exceptions? Absolutely there are exceptions. It's just, that's not the genre, that's not the what I normally look forward to in terms of movies. And I always forget that Top Gun Maverick did get Best Picture. Oh my god, I forgot. See, this is how far off the beaten path I am. I fucking forgot that it did get nominated for Best Picture. I fucking forgot. At Best Adapted Screenplay? Best Picture? I fucking forgot it was nominated for an Oscar. It really was. Jesus Christ, I forgot that. Calm the fuck on, people. I don't mind Top Gun Maverick, but for fuck's sake. It did not fucking deserve a Best Picture nomination. For crying the fuck out loud. Giving them the bird. You know the finger. I like that. Anthony Edwards is a lot of fun as well in this. Yeah, it has that infectious smile and that's the thing about nowadays. I think there's a lot of films now. There's a lot of films nowadays. How do I put it? Films in the '80s that got completely shit on by critics, told that they were infantile, unrealistic, blah 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 blah. That maybe in the steam of today, they would get like much more credit or lauded by critics and awards, and it's like just how fucking things change and hypocritical things are. Like that would be my question. What makes it Top Gun Maverick such an Oscar-worthy movie in terms of story compared to this film? Because I think this film has a better cast, better music, better romance, better love story. So doing more of their testing here. I'm not sure what to talk about because, like I said, I didn't grow up with the film like other people did. Like I've seen this film only a handful of times, so a lot of this I'm trying to listen to the dialogue and marveling in the practicality of all. Which again, I marvel what they could do in the new film. They give credit where credit's due. But it seems like a lot of these films nowadays, if they're reminiscent of an '80s film, now they get the credit. I'm like, you weren't giving the credit to these fucking films back in the day. A lot of these films back in the day, you just give a humongous amount of shit for. Yeah, really nice, uh, really cool kick-ass shots they got throughout the film. And the 10 biggest films of the year, box office wise: number 10, Ferris Bueller's Day Off; number 9, Ruthless People; number 8, The Golden Child; number 7, Aliens; number 6, Back to the School; number 5, Stretcher 4; number 4, Criteria Part 2; number 3, Platoon; number 2, Crocodile Dundee; and number 1, Top Gun. And I think I maintain, like, 1986, this is where they buzz the tower when they're not supposed to. This is that ongoing thing that they do. They keep buzzing this tower. Time to buzz the tower. I can't get enough of that score by Harold Faltermeyer. Kilmer. I don't like you because you're dangerous. That fucking movie. Fucking hell. All that guy behind him is Clarence Dilliard. Sadly, he's passed away. He was Chuck Norris's partner in Walker Texas Ranger for many, many, many years. He was also, what, Theo in Die Hard? He was the hacker trying to get into the vault, and then he got in the van, and the limo driver was able to knock him and the van out. Run his car into the van. Theo, it's Christmas. But he was Chuck Norris's partner in Walker Texas Ranger. Of course, you have your heroes getting chewed out like usual in these type of movies. And of course, because of the success of this, there's a lot of, not a lot of, but there's a few rip-offs. Firebirds being one of them, which, with Nicolas Cage, Tommy Lee Jones, I wasn't a fan of that movie. I know my friend Mike, OCP, he likes the film. I think it's a pretty lame rip-off of this movie. And I said, I was always more of an... I always like Iron Eagle more, and that film doesn't even have a fucking Blu-ray. To this day, Iron Eagle doesn't have a fucking Blu-ray, which pisses me off. Like, why the fuck does this film not have a goddamn Blu-ray? It sucks. Put it out on fucking Blu-ray. Like, what's the deal? It was released by TriStar Pictures. I guess whoever has it don't care, or is it the rights to Queen music? But there's other movies with Queen music. Highlander. They're able... What's the deal with that? They feel there's not an audience? That's why, when Top Gun Maverick was coming out, I'm thinking, if there's a best time to put Iron Eagle out on Blu-ray, Top Gun Maverick's coming out. Here's the film that was, it came out before Top Gun. But yeah, I was saying before, the 1986, I always kind of labeled as one of my favorite years in terms of movies. Because I just looked at that year and I go, okay, it's got Aliens, one of my favorite films of all time. Cobra, another one of my favorite movies of all time, one of my favorite Stallone films. That and Rambo First Blood Part 2 go back and forth as to which is my favorite Stallone film. It has The Golden Child, my favorite Eddie Murphy film. It has Star Trek 4, my favorite Star Trek film. It has Maximum Overdrive, one of my favorite B movies. Crocodile Dundee, comedy I love. The Hitcher, one of my favorite films of the 80s. And I just looked through the list, I'm like, it's got House, it's got Highlander, it's got Ferris Bueller's Day Off, which I enjoy, and I think Jumpin' Jack Flash, which is my favorite Whoopi Goldberg film. Police Academy 3 is my favorite Police Academy film, and that came out that year. Critters I enjoy. Going throughout the years. At Close Range, thought that was a really good Sean Penn movie. Let's see, what else came out in 86? Short Circuit, that's another personal favorite of mine. Grew up with Short Circuit. Big Trouble in Little China, one of my favorite John Carpenter films. The Fly remake, which is one of my favorite remakes of all time. Back to School. Karate Kid Part 2, my favorite Karate Kid film of all time. There's a lot of damn good movies that came out that year. I mean, again, Aliens, Maximum Overdrive, Big Trouble in Little China, Cobra, Karate Kid Part 2, Crocodile Dundee, Friday the 13th Part 6, one of my favorite Friday the 13th films. Yeah, just a lot of cool stuff. Manhunter, Night of the Creeps, Chainsaw Master 2, Avenging Force with Michael Dudikoff. I mentioned you Jumpin' Jack. Golden Child, of course. Golden Child is one of my favorite comedy of all time. So yeah, Aliens and Golden Child and Cobra and Big Trouble in Little China, like those alone make it a hell of a fucking year for me. Firewalker, my favorite Chuck Norris film of all time. So it's got one of my favorite Stallone films, has my favorite Star Trek film, has my favorite Karate Kid film. Star Trek 4 is my favorite Star Trek film. It's got one of my favorite Eddie Murphy film. Yeah, my favorite Eddie Murphy film, which is my favorite comedy. My favorite. It just keeps going on and on, man. But yeah, that's just me though. But yeah, 1986 just a fantastic, glorious year for me at least. Of course, Rick Rossovich there as Slider. Of course, the volleyball scene everyone talks about. Which how they even did this again in the sequel. I'm like, come on, dude, really don't do this again in the sequel? Of course, Rick Rossovich, he was in The Terminator, he was in Losing It, with John Stockwell. And I think Tom Cruise was in that, yeah. Of course, the song, hanging with the boys. Of course, everyone always makes fun of it and call it, homoerotic and all that stuff. But maybe it's just something for the ladies. If you go on dates, you have the combat for the guys, you have this scene here for the ladies. Just interesting, it would be volleyball. And not like basketball. Maybe they figure you do a sport, but you don't want to be too injured, so football would be out. But again, interesting they didn't choose like basketball instead of, but instead they used volleyball. Ah, yeah, the biggest song on the soundtrack, "Take My Breath Away." With how much nostalgia is filled into Top Gun 2, I was absolutely surprised that they did not use this song in the sequel. I was absolutely surprised. And some of the music is actually by Jojo Moroder, which I mentioned when I talked about Scarface, who did a lot of the score for that. But he did help write songs, do music for songs, I should say. He helped do music for Over the Top, this movie, with this song. Like I said, I am just gobsmacked they did not put this song in the sequel. I'm like, oh, I wonder when they're going to put this on, and they didn't? Oh, shit. I did nothing against Jennifer Connelly, but Kelly McGillis, with the way she looks and the way she acts, just had this sexy, sultry, but commanding take on the role where almost like a human version of Jessica Rabbit, but also maybe not as much as a sex pop, but just a little bit more of that bravado. I don't know, just guarantee a lot of people had a crush on Dylan McGillis after this film. And I can see why it's just absolutely beautiful. Like stunning. Like, as I'm watching her now, just stunning. So I'm not just sitting here watching the film and just being like, let me read some info. So apparently the inspiration for this film was an article in May 1983 issue of California Magazine, which featured aerial photography by then Lieutenant Commander Charles Heater Heatley. It detailed the life of fighter pilots in San Diego, self-nicknamed as Fightertown, USA. Screenwriters allegedly turned down the project. Jerry Bruckheimer and Don Simpson, by the way, they were a team that were behind some pretty satisfyingly successful movies. Like, people may forget just how much Jerry Bruckheimer and Don Simpson, when you looked at their track record, because they had, it was 86. So after this, they worked with Tony Scott again in Beverly Hills Cop 2, which is a great sequel. I love that sequel. But by this point, they had worked on Flashdance, and then Beverly Hills Cop, the first one, and then Top Gun. Like, I looked at their list. Okay, Flashdance, successful film, had that song, What a Feeling. Beverly Hills Cop, one of the classics of the 80s. Love Beverly Hills Cop. Then they did Thief of Hearts, they produced. And that one I have reviewed, and that was a bit of a wonky movie with Stephen Bauer. I did review that film. David Caruso is the best part of that. He's this very Stevie bad guy who is teaming up with Scott Bauer, but then Scott Bauer is trying to be this thief, but is a thief with a heart of gold and is in love with this other guy's wife. And took her diary, and I don't know. I have a review of that up. I talked about in that review my issues with that film. So that was 84, along with Beverly Hills Cop. 86, Top Gun. 87, Beverly Hills Cop 2. 1990, Days of Thunder, which I always liked Days of Thunder. That film got shit on. I love Days of Thunder. I think it has a fantastic score. I love the Days of Thunder score. I think it's one of the Hans Zimmer's more underrated musical scores. And like I said, I always liked that movie. He had a relationship with Nicole Kidman that worked well on the screen. That definitely had a Top Gun type of feeling. Which makes sense. We got Tony Scott and Tom Cruise working together again, but not nearly the same success. Like, you're not going to get a Days of Thunder 2 like Top Gun 2. That ain't happening anytime soon. But like I said, I do quite enjoy Days of Thunder. I think I even went on record in saying I might like Days of Thunder more than Top Gun. But I like both. He was the executive producer on The Ref. Don Simpson was. And was Jerry Bruckheimer on that as well? The Ref is a fun movie. Dennis Leary, where he's a burglar, and then throughout the night he's got to kind of, let's see. I think their production company was a part of it. They might have been executive producers. But yeah, Judy Davis and Kevin Spacey as this Arduin couple, and Dennis Leary is this cat burglar, and then he's holding him as hostage, but then he's got to be almost their damn marriage counselor throughout the night. It's such that Kevin Spacey's in it because of what we know about Kevin Spacey now, but Dennis Leary definitely steals the show in that. Bad Boys they helped produce, which I love that movie, but they didn't think that movie was going to be anything because they were more concentrated on Crimson Tide, which is another good movie, another Tony Scott film. And Crimson Tide is a pretty solid film, but Bad Boys made its mark as well. And then Dangerous Minds, which no one remembers that film except the Coolio song. Rest in peace, Coolio. There's Meg Ryan, Huddy and Anthony Edwards. Meg Ryan, who would go on to be in Sleepless in Seattle with Tom Hanks and You've Got Mail. Be quite a few other movies. I don't know what she's doing nowadays. Meg Ryan kind of just disappeared. But yeah, Dangerous Minds, I mean, that is one of those films that was such a huge hit, and no one remembers the fucking movie. Other than the song, you take out the song. Now tell me about the movie. Okay, Michelle Pfeiffer, she's teaching kids. What else? Exactly. Just Dangerous Minds, I mean, that made $84 million in the U.S. $84 million. Which, that's fucking crazy looking back. And it made that on a $13 million budget? No, 23 million. That's a lot of fucking money. And 179 million worldwide. That's crazy. Nice usage of Take My Breath Away again. The music definitely helps with the film, and that's just what people don't realize, the importance. And real quickly, like Don Simpson, the last film his name was attached to was The Rock, which, I mean, that's a classic movie. But I was saying, like, people forget how important music is to a movie in terms of whether it be songs, the score, everything in between. Like, people forget that those could be very important. Like, goddamn, lady, you women drivers, you know, just space shit everything. And he's like, what the fuck are you doing? Ding, ding, ding. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom, boom. Like I said, Tom Cruise, McGillis, they make it work, and the music, like, you know it's sex because it's got blue 80s sex. You got blue lighting. How many times have you had sex and there's blue lighting everywhere? I guess only in the 80s. Like, that's such an important bit of a lot of films back in the day, the music. They do a lot of the classic movies. Now, but a lot of the classic movies, whether it be, you remember the pieces of music, the score, Jerry Goldsmith in the Rambo films, even, you know, back to the 70s, Star Wars and John Williams music, Indiana Jones and John Williams music, Jaws, all that stuff. And even going to the 80s, all the songs like from Flashdance, Oh What a Feeling, and a lot of those classics back in the day, Footloose and Dirty Dancing and all that jazz. Even the, you know, the Lost Boys and the music in that, like Cry Little Sister. This movie with Take My Breath Away and Danger Zone. because it's not just a visual medium; it's an audio medium as well. It's a combination of those two that create and stir certain emotions or feelings or thought process that will hopefully uh, keep with you even after the movie's over. There you go. There's that line, probably the most familiar line in the movie. I feel the need for speed. There you go. I don't know if a lot of movies nowadays understand and realize the importance of. There are exceptions. There's always exceptions, but of songs. And I know a lot of times, like especially when you got later on in the 2000s, like in the 90s in particular, well, they're putting these songs in to sell the soundtrack. Well, yeah, you know what? It is selling the soundtrack of the movie, but it definitely is a it's a great promotion for the movie. It could be a great service to the movie that people remember on a positive note. Like Dangerous Minds, that film that made a lot of money. The thing people remember is Coolio's Gangsta's Paradise. Same with musical scores. Here he has great book. Harold Faltermeyer. Yeah, Beverly Hills Cop was another example. Yeah, the Axel F theme, as well as The Heat Is On. The sequel, Breakdown, Shakedown, You're Busted, and get more of Harold Faltermeyer's score. So the previous test we had Michael Ironside, now we got Tom Skerritt in the mix. Once again, a note to the beautiful aerial photography being used. Which, when you got more into the 90s and the 2000s especially, a lot of this would be done more CGI. So when you saw, these crazy techniques being done on Top Gun Maverick, it made it that much more eye-catching and mind-blowing. And again, those were definitely the best parts of the movie. They were breathtaking. I don't think the movie as a whole was a best picture candidate. That's just me, though. There you go. Of course, the showcase that he's more gun-ho and thinking about himself, wanting the hero servitude instead. And more of a subdued performance by Michael Ironside. A lot of times it'd be him yelling and screaming, but there's Val Kilmer just tightening the screws in. Just egging him on, twisting the knife in slower and deeper. And then there's his, of course, his trusted bud, Anthony Edwards, trusting him and being what a best bud should be. Trustworthy. Sallying away gets him killed. Of course, he had this little backstory about his dad and the controversy around the death of his dad, and then later on find out from, I think, Tom Steer's character that no, he actually died heroically despite what people say. That was basically like Michael Ironside. That's a guy that is a tough motherfucker. I mean, that guy, he survived, from what I understand, bowel cancer, prostate cancer, thyroid cancer. Like, he survived all that shit and still kicking. He was the voice of Sam Fisher on the video game, Splinter Cell video games. And anytime I see him, I'm like, yes, it's nice to see him, whether it be Extreme Prejudice in the 80s with Nick Nolte, whether it be Watchers, which is a favorite of mine, with Corey Haim. Of course, I mentioned Total Recall as Richter. See you at the party, Richter. Even the bit role he had in films like Major Payne, Starship Troopers he was in. Some of those things, like, man, he's such a great actor. It's sad that he got labeled in so many, like, these direct-to-video movies that it's like, man, you wish that, like, directors of these bigger movies would go, this is a great actor, you can utilize him, he's a wonderful asset. But instead he's stuck doing, you know, some of these fucking films like Hardwired and The Alphabet Killer and fucking shit like that. He wasn't Nobody, the Bob Odenkirk action film. Big role, but it was nice to see him in there. That was the last thing I remember him from. Even this they redid in the sequel as well. The playing the piano, you know, that type of. I forget. Did they sing Great Balls of Fire in that as well? I can't remember. You know, the same bits with, you know, Tom on the motorcycle and the lady behind him. Only it's Jennifer Connelly and not Kelly McGillis. But yeah, I was looking into the making of the film. So there was an article in 1983. Bruckheimer and Simpson went on to hire Jim Cash and Jack Epps Jr. to write the first draft. They did research by attending several declassified Top Gun classes. They were flown in an F-14. But the first draft failed to impress Bruckheimer and Simpson. Tony Scott was hired based on the commercials he had done for Swedish automaker Saab in the early 80s, where the car is shown racing a fighter jet. After Matthew Modine turned down the role of Pete Mitchell because he felt the film's pro-military stance went against his politics, Tom Cruise was offered the role after he was seen in Risky Business. He was offered the part while filming Legend. Tom Cruise wasn't sure, but Ridley Scott, who's the brother of Tony Scott, said, hey, you should go in and do this. Val Kilmer was reluctant to play the role because he found the script silly. He didn't like the warmongering, but he took the role as he was under contract with the studio. The Navy was influential in relation to script approval, which resulted in changes being made. The opening Dolphin was moved to international waters as opposed to Cuba. The language was toned down, so not as much cursing. And a scene that involved a crash on the deck of an aircraft carrier was also scrapped. The love interest was also changed from a female enlisted member of the Navy to a civilian contract with the Navy due to the U.S. military's prohibition of fraternizing between officers and enlisted personnel. The Charlie character also replaced an aerobics instructor from early draft as a love interest for Maverick after producers were introduced to a civilian mathematician employed by the Center for Naval Analysis as a specialist in maritime air superiority, developing tactics for aircraft carrier defense. Film began in Oceanside, California in June 1985, later being moved to Miramar to begin shooting scenes on the aircraft. The Navy made several aircraft from F-14 Fire Squadron VF-51 Streaming Eagles available for the film. Paramount paid as much as $7,800 per hour for fuel and other operating costs whenever aircraft were flown outside their normal duties. The majority of the carrier flight deck shots were of normal aircraft operations, and the film crew had to take what they could get, save for the occasional flyby which the film crew would request. Future NASA astronaut Scott Altman piloted F-14 aircraft for many of the film's stunt sequences, having been recently stationed at NAS Miramar at time of filming. He was the pilot seen flipping the bird in the film's well-known opening sequence, as well as piloting the aircraft shown buzzing the tower through the film. It was shot in Super 35 format, as anamorphic lenses were too large to fit inside the cockpits of the fighter jets, and also the cameras would fall off their mounts when the fighter jets maneuvered on their sides. Up there goes Goose. Goose, no! Talk about up shit creek without a paddle. Goose is fucked. He's dead as fuck. I do wonder, like, how many of these type of accidents happen during these type of, like, in real life. Yeah, I think it's bound to happen. If it hasn't happened yet, you think it's bound to happen some way, in some form. Yeah, but Goose ain't making it. Sorry, man. He dead. He dead as fuck. So reshoots after Top Gun's filming wrapped conflicted with Made in Heaven, in which McGillis starred with brown hair. Top Gun's filmmakers were forced to hide her hair color, which, for example, resulted in a scene shot in an elevator featuring McGillis in a baseball cap. Okay. The San Diego restaurant and bar Kansas City Barbecue served as a film location for two scenes shot in July '85. The first is the two scene Great Balls of Fire. The final scene, where you lost that love and feeling to be heard in a restaurant's jukebox, was also filmed at that restaurant. And they were filmed one after the other. After the release of the movie, the restaurant went on to collect a significant amount of memorabilia from the motion picture until a kitchen fire, oh no, in June 2008 destroyed much of the restaurant. Some memorabilia and props, including the original piano used, survived the fire, and the restaurant reopened in November 2008. Renowned aerobatic pilot Art Scholl was hired to do in-flight camera work for the film. The original script called for a flat spin, where Scholl was to perform and capture on camera on the aircraft. The aircraft was observed to spin through its recovery altitude, at which time Scholl radioed, "I have a problem, got a real problem." He was unable to recover from the spin and crashed in his Pitts Special biplane into the Pacific Ocean off this... Oh shit, wait a minute. He was unable to recover from the spin and crashed his Pitts Special biplane into the Pacific Ocean off the Southern California coast near Carlsbad on September 1985. Neither Scholl's body nor his aircraft were recovered, leaving the official cause of the accident unknown. And Top Gun was dedicated to his memory. Wow. Wow. Damn, I didn't know about that. Shit. Well, on a lighter note, Top Gun soundtrack is one of the most popular soundtracks to date, reaching 9-time platinum certification, #1 on the Billboard 200 chart for 5 non-consecutive weeks in the summer and fall of '86. The song "Take My Breath Away" won the Academy Award for Best Original Song. And performed by the band Berlin. Of course, you also had Danger Zone by Kenny Loggins. It was the first new release blockbuster on VHS to be priced as low as $26.95 and backed by a massive $8 million marketing campaign, including a Top Gun themed Diet Pepsi commercial. The film became the best selling VHS in the industry's history on pre orders alone. Huh. Yeah, that's when they realized, you know what? Make them affordable enough that anybody could buy it. Yeah, Meg Ryan, I mean, she doesn't have a big role, but she wasn't that big of a actress at this point. I think in the same year she was in Armed and Dangerous with John Candy and Eugene Levy. And I'm trying to remember what would have been like her breakout role. Like I said, I don't know where Meg Ryan is nowadays. I just like a lot of these actresses. They feel that, as they get older, they can't be in the limelight, and that they do be judged more harshly and more harshly. I guess sadly they got a point, to be honest. Oh yeah, she was in Inner Space the year after this. When Harry Met Sally, that was definitely a big break for her. The Doors, Sleepless in Seattle, Courage Under Fire, City of Angels, You Got Mail. Yeah. I guess she's making a film, What Happens Later. And she had made another film in 2015 called Ithaca. And she directed it as well. So. She was a voice on Captain Planet and the Planeteers as Dr. Blight. I didn't know she was a voice on Captain Planet. Dr. Blight. Fuck, I didn't know that. So now Maverick can't be up to par. So now there's going to be talk of him giving up and stuff. He's shaken and stirred. Not just... Which I guess you can't blame him after the death of his buddy. You can't really blame him. Filled with guilt, all that shit. And yeah, that guy there is Clarence Gilliard. Who, like I said, was in... Yeah, that guy with the glasses behind there. Clarence Gilliard's like, get your fucking hands on me. I'm gonna call my buddy Chuck Norris and he's gonna kick you in the face. My name's Trevette, motherfucker. Or is it Theo? And in Die Hard. Yeah, Sally passed away. 66 years old. Passed away November last year, 2022. And I guess he had some long illness. I didn't know the details of it. And this is like one of his first early roles. Because he was a GI in Criteria Part 2. He was in the film called Off the Mark. Die Hard. From 1988. Well, before this, I guess he was in episodes of Chips, episode Different Strokes. The Dut Factory, some other TV shows, Riptide. From 89 to 93, he was in 85 episodes of Matlock with Andy Griffith. And that's the thing, like, after Die Hard, like, in 88, he kind of just went to TV. But, I mean, I guess, you did it from 89 to 93, he had Matlock, and then from 93 to 2001, he had Walker Texas Rangers, 196 episodes. But, hey, I mean, it's continue work. And then 2000, 2002, he was in Left Behind 1 and 2. And I don't know what else he's I don't recognize this other stuff he's done. Of course, he was in that commercial for Auto Parts Die Hard battery with Bruce Willis. He was in that commercial. Yeah, but rest in peace, Clarence Dilliard. But before, I was talking about like Val Kilmer, and I forget the story. If it was he was doing something to some guy's ear or something. I thought it was something to do with a cigarette or something like that. Anyway, I think he was. I think it was he took the cigarette. It was burned the back of the guy's hair. Maybe it's not the ear. It was like the hair. He was like singeing the hair on the back of someone's head. I think that's what it was. An Island Dr. Moreau. And like all these horror stories you hear about, like what was the director of Jason Goes to Hell? He did a movie with Val Kilmer. I want to say it was called Conspiracy. See if that's the right film I'm thinking of. And he was in an interview and he mentioned that guy was the worst guy I ever worked with. Like there's Adam Marcus, yeah. He wrote, he directed it. Adam Marcus said that Val Kilmer, he made one of the other cast members cry. And I know he said that, Val Kilmer was like the worst person to work with. And I think he was in that interview with Pizzow. Nice down here. Pizowell, that he mentioned that. See, I wonder if someone has that quote on the Wikipedia. No. I mean, it's such that Val Kilmer is so sick, but with all the terrible bad behavior he's exemplified over the years, I don't want to say it's hard for me to feel sorry for him. It's just, you treat so many people like shit, it's kind of hard to feel sorry for you, if that makes sense. And yeah, I know that's not a nice thing to say, but Was he good? I mean, yeah, he did good work. He was great as Bad Mardigan and Willow. I really liked him in Real Genius. He does a good job here as Iceman. But Top Secret was fun. Let's see, here's some of the Val Kilmer stories. John Bruckheimer, who went on to direct Island Dr. Moreau after the other director got fired, whatever you want to put it. When the film was done with Kilmer, Bruckheimer was quoted to have said, "Now get that bitch off my set. Even if I made a film called The Life of Val Kilmer, I would not cast that guy and never want to work with him again." Neil Young, who played Borman in that movie, said he was just kind of being rude and abrasive. Maybe that was his way of being prepared to be an asshole and act like one on camera. Joel Schumacher, before Batman Forever, was warned not to hire him, but he did anyway. It resulted in a physical pushing match during the film. He called Kilmer rude, inappropriate, childish, psychotic, and impossible. Apparently, there's a point where the director called the actor out on his behavior, told him he wouldn't be tolerated for another second. Before it was 2 weeks of the pair not talking to each other, which Schumacher called bliss. Apparently, Kilmer and Tom Sizemore, they were shooting Red Planet in Australia. Kilmer was angry that Sizemore's machine he had was being shipped to Australia. I'm making $10 million on this, and you're making $2 million, and you get your machine shipped to Australia? So Sizemore's response was to hurl a 50-pound weight in Kilmer's direction. But it revealed that they solved that dispute. The story on the set of Tombstone, Val Kilmer was conversing with the original director, Kevin Jarre, about that holiday when a stand-in approached them with a colorful locust. "Look what I found." Without batting an eyelid, Val grabbed the locust and ate it. And according to the director, the locust in question was big, and when he was done, Kilmer turned to the director and said, "As you know, I have a reputation of being difficult, but only with stupid people." So someone found like a little thing to show you, and you wanted to be a dick and ate the fucking thing. He was diagnosed with throat cancer in 2015. 2020 memoir, "I'm Your Huckleberry." I know there's also one called Val, but it's like, I don't know. So Iceman won the Top Gun trophy. Tom Cruise agreed to graduate. I do like Tom Steier's character. He has a nice fatherly mentor aspect to it. Not too much of an ass, not too much of a dickhead. Just he has a history of the guy's dad and knows that, hey, what they said about your dad wasn't entirely true. It was a bit of his bullshit. I like that line. Hey, if no one else does, I'll fly with you. It is a nice, good sentiment for that character. And pretty much we're getting to the big finale of the big action scene at the end, where our lead character is going to prove himself, his guilt, his anger, his doubts. So. There you go. Getting ready for deployment again. Here we go. Getting ready to light the tires and spin those fires. I do like the color scheme, like the having to shoot at sunset or sunrise, however you want to put it. I would guess sunrise. Well, maybe sunset. I can't remember. Maybe sunset. Let's see if we get this shit on the road. And get the fuck out of Dodge. God damn it. Get that shit out of here now. Fuck out my face. I'm gonna fly this goddamn plane up your culo. How about them apples? Which, I mean, with the technology today, they definitely made it much more intricate in the new, the sequel. Man, back in the day when you just smoking fucking in the control room. I don't think you can do that nowadays. In fact, you don't really have much smoking of anything nowadays in movies. Or at least the ones I've seen. Like big profile, high profile movies, you don't see a lot of that. Come on, Iceman, what you doing? Watch out, you're gonna get dizzy. Fire, motherfucker. Lost Hollywood? I wish we lost Hollywood. With how shit they've been. Lose the entire fucking Hollywood business, please. Tom Cruise got his color money on. That guy's brother dropped off at Walmart, or Kmart, I should say, and he's going to try to kick some fucking ass. Oh shit. Well, there you go. I don't know. I expect use your chewing gum on them. Just throw it at them. Yeah, you need to get the fuck out of Dodge, man. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. I had to get some stuff done. I am paused at around 1 hour, 29 minutes, and 20 seconds as we're in the middle of this dogfight. 3, 2, 1, pressing play. Oh shit. I know a lot of movies afterward would use stock footage from movies like this. There were two movies that a lot of stock footage got taken for the direct-to-video market: Top Gun and Crimson Tide. Because any movie that dealt with jets of some nature, you probably have some stock footage from Top Gun bought, taken, utilized. Say with if anything dealt with a submarine or an requirement of a sub needed to be put into a movie, has some stock footage from Crimson Tide. Tim Robbins like, get your ass together, you fly as badly as Howard the fucking Duck. God damn it, man. You don't make me want to fly with Howard the Duck again. Stop the shit. Actually, wasn't Howard the Duck the same? When was Howard the Duck? Is that the same? It was the same year. I'm sure Tim Robbins is like, well, I get to be in this big film, which was a huge hit, and then I get to be in a film that George Lucas is a part of. But in that film, he had a bigger role, and it was a pretty crappy movie, so that didn't help. While in this, like he's in a good chunk of the scene, but you have the quick edit shots, and you got the mask over, so you can't really see much of his face. He's learned, not gonna leave his wingman. There you go. Oh shit. Come on, Tom, do something. There you go. You die now, motherfucker. God damn it, Tom, stop missing. Shoot the some bitch. Got him. Bullseye, motherfucker. Gotta do some fancy maneuvering here. Do some Star Fox shit. Gonna do what? Bring him closer. Sayonara, motherfucker. There you go. You believe in Jesus? Just arrange the meeting for you. There's a mids. You get the fuck out of there. God, that music just fits so well with the triumphant proceedings. Love that guitar work. Bullshit. Be my woman. Here comes the kiss. No, I'm just kidding. I love James Tolkien. Love his performance there. You want to be an instructor? God help us. See, in the sequel, he's a test pilot while Iceman became a commander of the U.S. Pacific Fleet. I hear you, song with Kilmer McGillis. You lost that love and feeling. But I just see you watch this again, which I mean, it's pretty much the song they play out, and it'll be a kiss. I just see why people enjoyed it back to the day. Why it became such a huge hit during the summer. You go in with your popcorn, you drink your favorite drink of choice, and what do? You get Tom Cruise is a talented actor, handsome guy for the ladies, talented guy for the guys. He's a good actor. He's not just a pretty boy. For the guys, you get a beautiful. For the girls, you get Tom Cruise. For the guys, you get Kilmer McGillis. Kilmer McGillis, beautiful person. Romance that they have some good chemistry with each other. You had a soundtrack with your very great guitar heavy score, some very catchy songs. Take My Breath Away, Danger Zone. And you look at this cast, Anthony Edwards, like I said, Val Kilmer, Rick Rossovich. Let's see, we got Tom Steer, of course, Michael Ironside, Kilmer McGillis here, Tom Cruise. Cast that work well together. Beautiful aerial shots and action set pieces. And overall, summer entertainment that people enjoyed and watched over and over again. Go and watch these beautiful aerial shots that had not been done that way in a long, long time. I mean, what was that? Firefox with Clint Eastwood, which had some really bad effects. It was like Clint Eastwood trying to be a real movie, but then trying to have like Star Wars type of. It just didn't work. Firefox. That's a boring as fuck movie. And great job on the Pirates. Yeah. Top Gun with Pirates. Yeah. Johnny Depp in it. Captain fucking Jack Sparrow. He'd be the leader of this Top Gun Academy. Imagine that. These pilots working their asses off. Rest in peace to that aerial pilot that was doing the spin that Sally passed away, and at the end apparently didn't find his body or plane. Rest in peace to him. And yeah, other than that, worthwhile summer blockbuster. Like I said, I still prefer Iron Eagle. I still prefer other films of that era. But it's a good one. So can't complain too much. So with that said, thanks for watching. Take care. And thanks once again, Shawn. And we'll see you later. Bye-bye.